I stepped in and checked on what the recorder has actually recorded. I was shocked to see what was playing right in my hand. This was the pastor that I respected so much when it comes to ministry. Hello brothers and sisters, I welcome you all to another episode here on King Spencer TV, where we share true confessions and story. This is a story sent in here by a brother, and here it goes. Hello brother, how are you doing? I believe everything is well with you, where you are. I have something that I wanted to talk to you about. This is the main reason why for some time now I have not stepped my foot in any church. I cannot believe how much hypocrisy and ignorance there is in these churches. I am not against anyone going to a church. That's not definitely my point. But then, I have really come to a point where I believe that whatever you want to do as a person who is God walking in human flesh, you should ask yourself a lot of questions before starting to join or be part of any group. Not just because you know it's a Christian thing or faith and so you join. I remember there was this elderly man who I always used to go to for discussion, and he takes his time to advise me a lot about life and people in generally. Honestly, I learned so much from him. He wasn't someone who was a church person, but the wisdom that was coming out of him when you visit him was so deep. He was in another level. He told me something back that if you visit any church and the leader or preacher always talks about one particular thing as being so sinful, there is a higher chance that he is doing the same thing. He said that the pastor is only telling you people about that, so you would not have time to think of him in that direction. He told me again that he was not against religious beliefs or doctrines, but then he asked me that what Bible was Abraham and all those ancient people reading before called them and proclaimed that they were his friends. I remember that day he asked this question vividly, like it's today, and I'm telling you this. He said that if they did not read any Bible, and yet they were able to live a life that was pleasant to God, for that matter, their lives were recorded in the Bible. Same way, you can live a life not necessarily joining any group and still please God. I have definitely come to understand him perfectly. Why I'm talking this way, you will see, brother. I happen to be part of a church in our community. I was not just a member, but I was a worker. I was in charge of cleaning the pastor's office and the other leaders in church as well. We had about 6 to 5 offices in general at the church premises, and each of them had their own purpose. I was the person who had to make sure that the place was in order and decent for everyone. For that reason, I had access to the pastor's office 3 times in a week because we had 3 services in that week: Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday services. And because I was doing my own small business, I always had opportunity to do my work as it was supposed to be done. Everything went on well and everything seemed fine until I started noticing something that I did not understand. At first, I told myself it wasn't something that should bother me, so I brushed it off. You see, brother, there were this particular 3 guys in the church, and 2 of them were in the singing ministry, and 1 was a media person in the church. I started noticing how they talked about the pastor. It didn't seem right to me. When I questioned them, why is it that they talk about the pastor this way, they will laugh and tell me that I do not know anything in this world. So I decided I will find out the reason why, and also what is it that they know that we don't know that warrants them to talk the way they do. So I started paying attention to our pastor to see if there is something that will sell them out funny enough. From that point going, I was in church, but my attention and concentration was not there. I was completely a different person. I had now become more than an investigative journalist who was not ready to back down from his duties. And I will tell you something. It was a good thing that I decided to embark on such work. It gave me an insight that no one in the church knew except the pastor and those guys. Because of how I was doing my work in the church, I was able to monitor the times the pastor had his meeting with the guys. So when I got to know of the time and days where they normally meet, I decided to set up a video recorder in their office to see what was going on inside his office. Honestly, Inasmuch as I was willing to know what was happening, I did not know what came over me to have the idea of setting up a recorder in his office. Little did I know that this very recorder was going to reveal to me something I was not prepared for. So the day came and I saw one of the guys enter his office without him noticing I was that in the far end of the church. So after a while, he came out of the office. I also saw the pastor come out of the office too, but then he returned inside. I stepped out so he would not recognize me in there. When he came out that very day, after he had gone out from the office, I stepped in and checked on what the recorder has actually recorded. I was shocked to see what was playing right in my hand. This was the pastor that I respected so much when it comes to ministry. He was busy having sex with this guy. I never believed my pastor was gay. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. What shocked me most is that this thing is happening right under the church premises. Everything did not make sense to me. Is it not the same pastor who talks about this act being something that God forbid? I did not know what to even do with the video, either to take it to the church elders or what. I went home that whole night. I couldn't sleep. I was shocked and saddened at the same time. So our pastor was actually not the person he claimed to be. The next day, I took a decision to confront the guys about what they were actually doing with the pastor. I told one of them that I knew what was going on between them and the pastor. He was shocked at what I said to him. He then pretended as if everything was fine. He asked me, what do I mean by me saying I know what was going on with them and the pastor? I replied him that I have seen all their dirty acts that they do behind everyone, and that it is the reason why the pastor has them close to him. He just brushed what I said off with laughter and was saying I did not know what I was talking about and nothing bad was going on. My reason for doing what I did was to know what will come after. I told the guy that. I never knew they actually went and told the pastor about what I told the guy. He called me and asked me what I meant by saying I knew everything that was going between himself and the guys. I told him I've said nothing of that sort to anyone. And then I asked my pastor, what is it that was going on that will make the guy come and tell him what I told him? He looked at me and sacked me in anger. So in about a week's time, I was called in a meeting by the elders of the church, and they told me I should give out all the keys to the office because they were relieving me of my duties. I asked them what the problem was. They told me that I needed to just obey what they had told me, and so I gave them the keys with me. And then was when I was leaving the church premises. I called one of the elders and told him I would like to come to his house in the evening if he was okay with me coming. He said yes, and I can do that. So that evening I went to his house with the recorder and played it to him. He was so shocked by what he saw. So I told him it was because of this that the pastor has ordered them to ask me to stop cleaning the place. I told him that I was not even ready to show or tell anyone about it until he decided what he started. I told the elder I was leaving the church and wouldn't love to go without telling him what was going on in the church without their knowledge. I further told him to act quickly if they were really concerned about the work of God. I left him with the recorder, and ever since that day, I never stepped in my feet in that church again, or any other church for that matter. Whatever they did with that recorder, I have no idea. But to me, I feel I did what I was supposed to do by telling the elder what was going on. This is my encounter or experience when I was working with this pastor.